Rukmini Vijayakumar is a Bharatanatyam dancer, the artistic director of Radha Kalpa Dance Company, and the director of Lshva, a space for artists. She is known for her unique style and approach to the practice of Bharatanatyam. Her strength lies in her dedicated and rigorous practice and layered knowledge of Bharatanatyam. Rukmini has developed a pedagogical system that approaches Bharatanatyam in a systematic, analytical manner that trains the body progressively while cultivating creative exploration. She has performed as a soloist all over the world, including the Jacob's Pillow, the Drive East Festival, LaMama Theater New York City, Korzo Theater, amongst numerous other venues. A graduate of the Boston Conservatory, Rukmini's process of creation is both traditional and contemporary. Also an actor, Rukmini has had the privilege of working with some of the best filmmakers in the Indian film industry.
How are you doing in this unique, difficult, interesting time? How is your movement practice going? How are you feeling?
I think you can't say it's one way or the other. I usually say I'm fine because in terms of like I have food, I have a house to live in, and I'm not thinking about my next meal or how am I going to support a family member if something happens to them. So in that sense, I'm fine. My art making practice is fine because I am able to I'm able to exist in a bubble when I'm creating. In fact, it feels like that time before my performing career took off, where I was able to devote my entire day to becoming a better dancer, which seems luxurious, and at the same time, I don't know, like there is one when I'm in the process of it, it's fine. Then when you come out of the process of it, then you have to think about the things that are happening around the world. On another front, it's I don't want to say stressful because I try very hard and I'm learning. It's not that not to let things affect me, but not to let things bring me down. But I would like to see what I can do about it, rather than kind of succumb to obviously the misery that's existing in the world right now. So I think that there are things that I've tried to devise, or things that I'm trying to come up with in terms of I did a crowdfunding thing that I thought I could raise funds, because there are so many artists who want to work. A lot of them don't want to accept money, so that's also a thing, right? You want to work, and like you want to have things, and there are numerous digital platforms that are coming up where artists are performing online, and everybody's going and raising funds for like the migrant workers, especially in India and all of that. But I'm thinking a little bit more long term. I'm thinking like the artists are fine doing it now, this month, next month, the following month, but after 3-4 months, we're still not going to have performances. The tech companies are going to come up, everything else will be fine, but the art and like digital performance industry will be fine. But then those of us who perform, our primary income is from performance and from large gatherings. It's not going to happen I don't think, for a while. So I was thinking like I was working in ensemble with a dance company, but I'm trying to figure out ways that maybe how can we engage, like maybe in conversations like you're doing now online, maybe like give the artist something, because we did a series of conversations where I spoke to other dancers, but I wasn't able to remunerate them anything. It is their time and they are sharing their journey. So, and I was thinking, if I'm able to do a crowdfunding, then in so many small ways, maybe a small thing, but I can still help with that in my limited way, So obviously my concentration is with artists and classical arts and dance and music, because it can get sidelined, because most of the traditional performers, most people don't know how to go big on social media. Some of the most wonderful dancers don't even exist on social media. Who are in my generation, who are younger, they're a bit more savvy, they can put things out. But there are a lot of people who are not, and who can't do it. So who, like, even the musicians who play for a Bharatanatyam performance, the the people who compose the music for all shows and performances, the ones who do the mastering of sound and music, like run the sound studios. So many people who don't have work now. So I don't know yet how exactly I want to do, because I just started the crowdfunding campaign. But I wanted to engage with art, basically. So that's how it's going. That's a long answer.
No, it's exactly because the change, I think, is something that we have to now sort of absorb in so many different ways, and I think it's that change is coming for a lot of different careers, but especially for us, because like you say, how do we? I mean, we're not going to perform anytime soon. We have a lot. This thing of entertainment, like dance is entertainment. And Natya Shastra says a lot about it. I haven't had the chance to read it ever. I've tried my best to find, texts on Google here and there. But, it does speak a lot about how dance is not just meant for entertainment. And I'm really curious to know, since we were one country once upon a time, there are part of us who think, dance is also part of our culture, music is also part of our culture. But now what we have become since 1947, it feels like, no, it was never that. And where, this Islamic country and we have to be a certain way. But and if we have classical dance within us, it's mostly Kathak because it's more acceptable for its costumes and for its Mughal, thing. Whenever we speak of Bharatanatyam, but how is it in India with classical dance, with Bharatanatyam, especially because you're living with that? How are youngsters taking it? Are you making it more accessible also for the youngsters? How are people seeing Bharatanatyam at this point?
I think that Bharatanatyam, it's very widely practiced now. So there are, there are classes everywhere. There are a lot of teachers, a lot of children, a lot of people. Obviously, there are benefits and drawbacks to the fact that there are classes everywhere. The benefits is that it's accessible. So there are a lot of people who are going to class. The drawbacks are that a lot of people who are unprepared also teach. But we have to look at the good on both sides. It's just that you're developing. Yes, we need some finesse and clarity, and things need to be maintained. And I also believe that you need to steep yourself in the tradition and know how it was practiced in order to find ways that make sense for you. But you have to know how it was done. There's no way of, I can't suddenly say I want to, I want to do my version of hip hop. I can't do it because I never learned or been immersed in hip hop at all. I might have attended like a few classes where I thought, oh, this is a pop and rock, but I don't have the liberty to move that form or develop on it or introduce something into it unless I have dedicated myself to it for a certain amount of time. So that being said, I do see there are two sides. There are two sides to it. There is the side where there are a large number of serious practitioners, students who stick with teachers for long, for many years, and who continue to learn. And I can see that because as an art space, when we have workshops and we say Talam and we say any advanced student, there are a lot of people who want to learn. So you know that all these are students who have been there doing it for over 10, 15 years, and they're still yearning to learn more, which is a great sign. There is also, like you said, the entertainment in the popular media, which is that in the So You Think You Can Dance and all these other shows, where incidentally in one of the shows I have been a judge on, they take the classical form from the superficial layer, the external, just some hastas, and they mix it, which is what Bollywood and movies do as well, right? They mix it with other things, and I'm not going to say that there is a problem. You can do it. Yeah, everybody's a free person. You can do whatever you like. But at the same time, it misrepresents Bharatanatyam to a lot of people. So people don't actually see, it's like seeing a high school league play football and then seeing like the football league, like the main league guys playing football, right? Or like seeing Michael Jordan, or seeing me play basketball. Right? Nobody wants to watch. Like people will be like, if I play basketball, they'll be like, oh, that's a boring game. I don't know what she's doing, right? So, and the thing is, they will make their judgment of basketball based on what I'm doing, right? I'm not Michael Jordan. So, and I haven't spent that time on it, or I haven't learned and been, immersed in it. So I think that it's not as much the fact of making it entertaining or popular, but it is the fact that because of digital media, there's a large access to it, and people perceive this superficial thing many times to be Bharatanatyam. And I think, and when they say that, they'll be like, oh yeah, whatever, even I can do it, and it's boring. So this is a lot of the reactions, right? Like, especially urban young population, they're like, it's boring, or it's so like tacky, it's this. I mean, I've heard a lot of things. It's not that it isn't practiced, it is practiced, and it's not, and it is used in many versions of itself throughout different platforms. There does exist this very strict proscenium performance of Bharatanatyam, and there does exist this completely watered down thing that is on popular media, like So You Think You Can Dance and all that. And I feel that there needs to be a medium, because otherwise we will lose our audiences. So in that respect, it's not like I make an active attempt to make it accessible. So I don't do anything to it, but I just think a lot about what I'm doing. And I need for it to have meaning to me, and then I perform it. And there is a certain forum for different things. Like I did this collaboration for Dil Se or something like that with a singer friend. I'm not going to dance Dil Se on a stage. It's just that friend, and I like it, and it's a nice song. Why not? So because of that, if someone comes back and says, "Hey, let me go and watch a Varnam," good. But I'm not going to. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I don't feel it's necessary for me to take the vocabulary of Bharatanatyam and add other movements to it, even if I am doing it to Dil Se.
That's interesting. But you see, Bharatanatyam is at the end of the day a very technical form, and there is a lot of right and wrong within it. You see, like with a lot of people think, a lot of people either think that dance is something that is meant to just free you and heal you and make you feel a certain way and just make you feel happy and all of that. And for the other people, for perhaps people like us, dance is a lot about being perfect, or a lot about achieving a sense of perfection. But within that, for you, while you were trying to become a better dancer, while you were trying to like achieve this perfection, or get this technicality within you, how do you find your freedom within that? And when did that come to you, the freedom of it? Is it when you really understand, okay, now I know the vocabulary, or is it that you go beyond dance, researching beyond that? How is that?
I think that when we talk of freedom, right? When we say freedom itself, it means that we want to free ourselves from something, right? That means something is holding us back.
Yeah.
So when we say, I want to feel freedom, that means something is holding you back. And very often we think of dance as it's free because I'm free to express. But what is it that was holding you back, that you feel free in this, or that you want to feel free in this? So I think that is a very big question to ask when you say, do you feel freedom? And I very often had this discussion with my students. Like you said, there is dance. Like dance is inherently, to say address the first thing that you said, which is it is to make us feel happy and joyous and things. I think dance is inherently part of that as human beings, like inadvertently, when you're kids, you jump, you move around. If you hear music, you want to go like this. And in a friend's wedding, you're like clapping and jumping. And, it's celebratory, like without even us realizing it, right? And I mean, you're in Italy, and who doesn't dance? Right? So everybody dances. It's a part of the culture. It's every culture has dance. It's just there because it is a part of human nature to move, to express yourself, because we have bodies, right? We have bodies and we move. Like without even knowing, our bodies speak volumes. Almost like if you're sad, you'll be droopy. Like nobody needs to say that. So I think that in that sense, dance exists as that, whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or we don't accept it, it's there for that anyway, to offer that release, to offer that joy. Why do so many women, like, I mean, all these things come as a phase, First there was that aerobics that they did, then there was Zumba, now they have some poly aerobics, they have something else. And so many people go and they do it. Why? It's not complicated. It's not like some specific thing you need to go and perform. But moving itself, sometimes they clap. And I've seen, they're all smiling, most of them are happy. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with just dancing because you like dancing or it makes you feel happy. And we have to accept that it's a part of our life, whether we like it or not. Some people need to drink to be able to dance. Others dance anyway. So I think that when, as classical dancers or as concert dancers, like when you're a contemporary dancer or a Bharatanatyam or a ballet or Kathak, it's slightly different in the sense that we are not just, when we dance, someone can't just join in and be a part of our dance, right? There is something that's established as a dancer and a viewer, because it is complex. It's not easy. It's not something that you can just get up and do, like in a social situation, like with line dancing, or with any partner of social dancing. Where the technical abilities are lower, but they are meant to develop, kind of a social camaraderie or friendship and thing. And these are not necessarily celebratory, whether it's contemporary or Bharatanatyam or Kathak. They're things that are meant to make you think about something or make you experience something.
Yes.
So in such a sense, obviously the audience numbers will fall, right? Because when you see popular culture, everybody watches it and then you forget about the dance. It's not like you're going to go back home and think 5 years later, you know, I watched that Bollywood performance and then my heart was stuck for a moment when I saw him fall to the ground. No, I don't think I've seen anything like that in popular culture, right? There are things that are beautiful and you see them, and if there is some aesthetic perfection that surpasses that, maybe that'll stay in your mind. But there is nothing that I can say that for me that I've seen from a popular culture performance that has moved me so much that I will remember it 10 years later. But these kind of performers, this is what we strive to do. We strive to, yes, entertain those who would like to be entertained, but maybe that 2% of the population or 5% of the population. If it's 10%, I'm overjoyed, you know. If it's 50%, oh my God, my blessing, all my blessings have, you know, have been realized. So it's a small percentage of population who might go back home and think of that moment when they felt something, you know. And so it is not the same with concert dance and popular culture. We can't compare them. Both have their place. Both are beautiful and both are necessary. You know, so you can't always listen to deep introspective music or read deep introspective books. You want a comic book every now and then, right? You want to read a magazine or something like that, and that's okay. So when it is a form that is kind of allows you to just move, because there are many things that just, you know, you can play music and you can feel free and you can just dance, right? Or if you go to a club, you feel free and you just dance. In order to feel freedom in Bharatanatyam, it's going to take a long time. But the freedom that you experience is long. It's not interrupted. It's like you're just lost into it the moment you begin. You know, and for the whole, I don't know, 60 minutes, you can be away from existence completely. You know, and it takes a long time, because when you first start dancing, you're thinking, oh, is my arm in the right place? Am I getting the beat right? Oh my God, the mridang is played in extra avartanam. Oh my God, now what am I going to do for that? Or, oh, the singer didn't end on time. So all these thoughts will fill your mind for many years. For many, many years. That's all you can think about. And during that time, it's great because you can get your legs clean, you can get your arms clean, you can get your elbow up, you can develop the aesthetics, and you can, you know, practice to dance clean, which is just, I think, the surface of it. And once you begin to dance clean, and you don't need to think about your elbows or your aramandi, which is your half squat and sitting low, and the rhythm becomes a part of you because you listen to it. The stories or whatever you're depicting, whether it's I don't know, Sita, or if it's some Ravana thing, you know the character so well that you don't need to constantly think about what he would do next. At that point, you can be free because you're no longer encumbered. In my opinion, you're no longer encumbered by the fact that you are you. I don't need to think about, oh my God, has Rukmini got her hands right? What is someone going to think about that? Right? I don't need to be Rukmini anymore. And I don't need to worry if someone is judging my aramandi or finishing my time, because all that is no longer relevant, and I can begin to dance, you know. So that's why I say you begin to dance, like, I don't know, a long time after you start dancing.
With you know, all these years that you've put into your practice, what are the difficulties that you faced in terms of, I mean, I really feel like, because I also heard you speak about this, and that's primarily why you sort of created the Radha Kalpa method, you know,
Yeah.
about how we end up overusing our bodies sometimes as dancers, or sometimes not even overusing it, but just using it in the wrong way. How we're always, letting injuries come to us. There's a lot physically that's happening. And how did you come about that? What happened with you that, you felt like you needed to go deeper into this and understand this instead of running away from it completely?
The first thing I want to say is that you said that with Bharatanatyam, I think that the freedom is not specific to Bharatanatyam. I think
No,
it can
no.
happen. It's with any
Yes,
dance form.
any dance
Uh,
form, absolutely.
with any dance form, and I think that
Whether it's ballet or
yeah, whether it's ballet or modern or contemporary dance or whatever form of dance
Desi
that you
or kuchipudi, yeah.
as long as you are able to surrender to the form and not be conscious of you
Hmm.
anymore, until the time that you can do that, you won't have freedom yet. And that freedom will come only from practice or riyaz or sadhana. It's not going to come even if you dance for, many people say I've danced 10 years or 15 years. I mean, it doesn't happen like after 10, 15 years necessarily, so it's at that point where you are no longer thinking about things, and you are moving without worrying about, the basics. So in terms of the Radha Kalpa method, coming to that, it's, I think when I was young, it was really difficult for me because I'm not saying me specifically, I'm just saying like in our generation in general, because there were things that we were expected to do, but I didn't know how to do them. So I had to turn out my legs, I had to sit down. We didn't generally learn like a proper warm up or anything like that. I remember my first workshop when I was 10 years old or something like that, and we were it was like for 15 days continuously, and I was crying because I had so much knee pain and I really wanted to dance, but I couldn't, and I had to sit down by the afternoon every day. So, and these are all things that could have easily been avoided if people, if I was aware of my body, if I knew how to turn out, what I must strengthen, and that knowledge was not freely available then. And it was something that I had to come and put together. The second thing was in the expressive realm, in terms of Abhinaya, there were many things that I had to contend with in terms of the logic and why we're doing this, and does this make sense? Does this not make sense? Why are we walking forward and back? Why do we need to walk forward and back? We're in a proscenium. And why do we repeat on the right and left? There's so many questions that I would ask that didn't make sense to me, theatrically speaking, or even in the context of what we say is rasa in the Natya Shastra. Like, so if we're trying to bring rasa, these must be the elements that are driving toward this being created. But I feel this and this element is not driving toward rasa. So why are we continuing to do it just because it is within the realm of what we consider as tradition? Doesn't the rasa supersede the idea of what we perceive as tradition? Was my argument, or is my argument. So I think by virtue of that, there are things that I have changed in my practice. And it's taken me a long time to have the conviction to say, hey, this is it, and this is what I believe in. So it has been a process that was more me discovering what was right for me, or what made sense to me intellectually in my thing. And by virtue of doing that, if I became more accessible to people, great. Because I think that's what rasa is about. And that's what creating experiences is about. So And by virtue of doing that, if the younger generation, some of them watch Bharatanatyam, good. But that was not the intention with which I did it. I did it because it needed to make sense to me. And there are many different things. Like, I mean, it would be like 5 full days for me explaining why I didn't do this and I did this and I took this and I didn't do that. So which would become another technical conversation. But that's kind of why I started with the Radha Kalpa Method. And online, what I've put is very physically related, because it's very difficult to work on other conceptual topics in a platform where you can't literally interact with the student. But the physical practice itself, I think, is good enough for now, because they will at least prevent injury from that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think also for me, along with time, I started to understand that it wasn't just about pushing your body, it was about strengthening other parts of your body or certain muscles that could support the other muscles. And I think sometimes when people want to learn dance, they just want to learn it. They don't want to give the time to strengthen our bodies, because I think the older we get, that's when the time we spend on certain stretches or certain strengthening exercises is going to show its fruit, after some years. In that moment, it might feel like we're just wasting time because we're not really learning the actual thing. So that rush is it's really there now. I think it's much more present now.
Yeah, of course, a lot more people are becoming aware,
Right.
which is great. Yeah. Great.
So with the vulnerability is something that I see in your abhinaya a lot. I mean, I see that you don't even, which I love really, watching when you're not caring about how your beautiful face might look in a certain character that you portray in your dance and in your abhinaya. And does that have to do a lot with vulnerability? And of course, vulnerability is not just coming in your abhinaya, but in many other aspects also. You becoming a teacher, or you feeling what you want to give to your students, but in all its aspects, what is vulnerability to you in dance, in your work? And have you been able to also kind of bring that into your own personal life? Vulnerability in dance, has that brought more vulnerability to you as Rukmini?
I think that's a very big question. You asked many questions in one. So I'll go one step at a time. I think when it concerns my students, I think that it's important to accept what you know and don't know. And if you don't know something, or if I don't know something, I very clearly tell them I don't know, and find out. And maybe that is being vulnerable in a way, but I think we're human. So I know a lot of people feel diffident to accept their inadequacies, especially with a student. But I think it's important, because nobody can know everything.
Absolutely.
So I think in that respect, when it comes to teaching, I do definitely, I mean, I definitely started teaching at a point when I had covered a good amount of material, and I realized, okay, I have to share this. It didn't come at a point where, I don't know, fortunately I never taught to make money or make ends meet. I mean, I've been okay without teaching. So I think I taught because I genuinely wanted to teach. I wanted to share what I knew and make them better than me, which is the intention with which I started teaching, because I wanted to give, especially my little kids, everything that I wanted, or when I was that age. So hopefully when they grow up, they can be like 10 times better than me. you know. So I think in that sense, I am vulnerable with my students. I'm also attached, which I shouldn't be. So you shouldn't be attached to anything actually. So, but I am attached to my students. In terms of performance, I think that unless you are vulnerable or unless you are willing to show who you are, it's very difficult to perform with honesty. Because when, like I said, there is this technical thing, right? Where you want to get your arms right and you want to get the rhythm right. You want to be right. You want everybody to see you as, like a well practiced, like a good performer. But after you practice and practice and practice, you have to let go of that completely in order to be okay dancing. Because if you are thinking about that, you will always be projecting something of yourself. I don't know how to put it. You're not going to be just you. And it's important to be able to offer yourself up to the dance completely without saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm Rukmini, I'm a certain person, I cannot play that role, with a uncle hide, and I just can't do that. So I have to let go of this perception that I have of Rukmini in order to do anything else with honesty. Otherwise, you're going to feel stupid. If you play a little kid, you'll feel stupid. You'll feel awkward if you're playing, I don't know, if you're playing a lecherous Ravana and he's coming, he's looking. You feel awkward. Like, I'll be like, oh, how can you look at that girl like that? No, you can't. Like, it's if you're playing the character of a killer or a rapist or whatever, you can't say, oh, that's that. You cannot judge what you're playing. You have to just let go of you, of your perception of you. So if you keep thinking I am a certain way and I do my hair a certain way and I need to look nice, I look so stupid doing that. If you are thinking of these things, then you can't do anything else. You have to let go of that completely. Or what perception you project of yourself on you. It's not even anybody else's perception. It's your own perception of yourself that you feel is right. If we let go of that, then we can be free. And in reality, we're being free from ourselves. We're not being free of anything else. And that comes back to the freedom answer, because we're just asking for freedom from our own selves.
Exactly. With dance or with all, whether it's Bharatanatyam, whether it's you learning new ways to strengthen your body and all of that. Again, this is sort of a big question, but you can answer it in a way that whatever you connect with it. But what has it maybe taught you about yourself, or about being human, or about being a woman? Because I really feel that when you put so many years and when you put so much time and effort into your your exploration in movement, you do explore a lot about us being humans also, or about yourself. And like you're saying, freeing yourself, there must be something that you would have known about yourself. So what would that be, or what is it in this moment that you connect with?
I think that this is one of the biggest things that I've found through dancing. I think that when I'm dancing, I'm a better person. Not just I don't just mean that if I dance in the morning, I'm in a better mood in the afternoon. I don't, that too, but not just that. But I mean that in the time of experiencing dance, right? I'm able to give up this perception of myself that I have. I'm able to give up Rukmini, right? I'm able to give her up. And I'm able to be anybody else. I'm able to be Radha or Krishna or the little girl on the street. I'm able to be Ravana. I'm able to be anybody else. And even with that, I'm able to not dwell and let that emotion overwhelm me and become a slave to the emotion of Ravana, right? I don't become. I'm not driven by that emotion. I'm still controlling it, right? So if I'm sad that my child died, let's say in my performance, I'll be sad and I feel bad and I have tears down my face because my child has died. And then after it's done, I let go of it, right? I'm not going to wallow in that sorrow. The sorrow is gone, and I have the mental ability and the awareness to take it to the light, take it to the music, do everything on time. But in life, we don't do that. In life, something happens, your car gets a scratch. We'll be like, why did you scratch our car? Like, there's this rage that comes and I can't let go of being Rukmini at all, right? Or if someone says, oh, you're doing, someone, especially if they criticize some honest choice that I made, like, what are you doing? You're selfish or something like that. Then I'm like, no, I'm not selfish. And you continue to want to prove this perception that you have of yourself to other people in life, right? So on stage, I don't feel that need.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all. And it's so free because I'm not trying to do anything. And I'm also in control of the emotions completely. If there's anything I want to learn, I want to learn to control my emotions off stage, one. And I also want to not be attached to this perception of Rukmini. That's it.
Yeah.
So and I think that's what
interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what I think performance has I don't know, made me discover in a way, because you're so calm, during a performance, so collected. You manage all the situations. Imagine you can manage all the situations of life like that. I feel like it'd be amazing.
Exactly. No, absolutely. Another thing that I'm thinking is you see, again, everyone, whatever form they do, whether it's Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Mohiniyattam, whatever they're doing, something about it becomes unique also. And I think those are the dancers that I think become sort of, they get more attention also because they're unique, and they're putting themselves into it also, because we're all in different bodies. And even your students, I'm sure you see something different in them from what you teach them, because they're putting it in their skin and their body. Yeah, so with Bharatanatyam's practice and, how have you worked on your own movement language? And how have you sort of like let that come into creating your work? And because there's something in your work that's very much you, one doesn't see that. One sees that it's Bharatanatyam, but it's you. And what is it that you're bringing into it? What is that uniqueness into it?
Actually, I don't know. I know what I know. Actually, to be honest, a lot of time trying to figure out what it is. And because I would watch, they say, oh, you're doing it differently, you're doing it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing it. I don't know what I'm doing differently. I'm doing what I know. And that's what I know. And I've worked on that and I put this together, and this is my thought process. and that's all. That's how I know how to do it. I'm not. It's not. It's not a conscious choice to add this or remove that. I'm doing it how I feel I need to do it in order to communicate what I feel is right. So, and when I was a soloist, I think like 6-7 years ago, when I was not teaching, I would really struggle. So I would actually watch my video and watch another video to try to figure out why are they saying that I am doing it differently, or they say that it looks different. It's not. Many people say this is not like proper Bharatanatyam, and I'm like, it is proper Bharatanatyam. I am doing it. I am using all the adavas. I may not use the same adava twice. I may not do it right and left. I change directions. I change speed. I change dynamics. I use the space differently. I cover the whole space, but that doesn't make it not Bharatanatyam, right?
Exactly.
So, and this was something that I would think about before, because when I used to struggle with conformity when I was younger, and especially when I just came back from college, I wanted it to be right. I wanted to be accepted as Bharatanatyam, and like I wanted people to know like I'm doing the right thing, you know. And I think eventually I didn't care about the rightness or wrongness of it, in the sense that because I knew it's right. It's right for me. It's right for me, and in terms of the technical accuracy, I know I'm right. Because you can't really figure out and say, oh, your Natya Ramam is wrong, my hand is wrong, my talam is wrong. These technical things nobody can break down and say I'm doing wrong, because I'm doing them right. So you have to tangibly then say what it is that you say defines Bharatanatyam and how I am out of that, or how I am pushing the boundaries. Because for me, I think I'm just doing Bharatanatyam, you know. And if you mention it, I see my students, and I can tell they are my students from what they do. I know immediately. And even like now, because there's so much social media, right?
Yes.
I also know when I see some videos, I know the ones who have watched my video and then try to make something. But I don't know what exactly it is. I can just tell. I know, but I don't know if it has to do with, I think it's a combination of how I connect movement, yes, maybe how I use direction, how I use flow perhaps, and also space. Yeah. I think it's a combination of a few of those things. So I don't exactly know what I have brought to it. But maybe I'll figure out after 10 years.
No, but even the fact that you say that you work with different speeds and dynamics with your adavus, I think that already makes a lot of sense, because even though you are doing the adavus the way they're taught to you, the way you've known them all your life, maybe for people visually it's something different to look at. And yeah, I think everything you answered it, but I'm sure you'll find more with your years. But my last question to you is, again, this is a very vague question, and I mean, you see, movement is something that we see continuously with nature, with in terms of dance, in terms of just anything. What is movement to you, or for you?
I think for me, on a very personal note, I think movement itself in many ways is life, because anything that is living is moving, right? I think it's there's nothing like, even if I mean like, even if you take a wooden block it exists because there are electrons moving inside it. There's nothing still in this universe, and everything is moving, and we kind of exist because of movement. And so I feel it's natural for us to reflect that in our own bodies, and through our own emotions, which is why I think as humans we perceive movement so well and intuitively, especially when it goes into abstraction. Like if I use a Bharatanatyam vocabulary for a contemporary work, or even in contemporary dance, people understand because we are connected to this movement, and we see it all around. It's just that as performers, we kind of analyze it, and we have like a scientific mindset when it comes to it, and then we put it down, we codify it, and then we bring it to you again to experience and relive something that you've already lived in some ways. So I think music is inherent. I think movement is inherent, and music, I guess, too. Yeah.
Also music, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rukmini. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the podcast When We Move. Stay updated for more interesting conversations coming up with a different guest every Friday. To watch or hear previous episodes, click on the link given in the description. Stay safe and keep moving.